today we're going to be looking at linebackers. And, this is a group that they're not getting much talk because the talk is about Nico. It's about the wide receiver room. It's about that defensive line. This is a group this year that I am very excited about. I pose a question right here, and for those in the comments here, those that watch this back on YouTube when we put it on, I want to see you guys answer this question: is this the deepest yet most inexperienced room on the roster? Because we're gonna go through the list of the linebackers on the team this year and see if we can give an answer to that question.
Okay, that makes you think about it a little bit. But no, we're going to roll right into it, man. Linebackers. And I agree with you. I kind of feel like they're flying under the radar. And you just had your leader of the linebacker room at media days, and still nobody's wanting to talk about it. Because I'll tell you what, you mentioned the defensive line. Like, I'm going to keep a defensive talk here. You talk about the defensive line because absolutely you have one of the guys that's projected top 5 pick in the draft coming up this year. But then on top of that, you've got the defensive backs kind of taking up the storylines because there's so many question marks with those guys that's where everybody wants to talk about. But here you got the linebackers, and I'll be honest with you, we pretty much play what you say like a 4-2-5 defense. So like you only got about 2 guys on the field at all times. But I think, man, we've got a good room. I'm so glad that we're talking about linebackers today. We're going to kick it off obviously with the father of the group, the leader of the group, and end of the defense, and that's Keenan Pili. You mentioned inexperience. This guy is definitely not that. He is a redshirt senior from Las Vegas, Nevada. Obviously played at BYU. And
I believe this is his 7th year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
Between medical red shirts, COVID years, and all that. I mean, the dude is either 25 or 26 years old. He's married. He's got at least 1 kid. I think he's got 2 kids. I mean, he's a grown man, literally out there with boys playing.
And if you didn't catch media days, definitely go back through it. I mean, very well spoken, very true leader, vocal, whatever he's got to do to put himself in that position to help his team out any way he can. He's that kind of guy. One thing I do want to mention about the linebacker room is we're in a first-year coaching change for the linebackers, and that's linebacker coach William Inge from Washington. He was there for 2 seasons in which I think Washington went like 25-3 or something like that. I mean, something crazy. Obviously he has some coaching experience. I mean, he's been coaching for decades. I think he coached at Indiana and other schools for sure, but he brings his experience to Tennessee. And I think Josh Heupel and Tim Banks both made this move because of how well he relates to the kids. He's something that he's a role model. The kids can get along with and want to be like, and I think his attitude is infectious and it's really good. It's very positive. And so I'm hoping to see some great things from this linebacker room. But Keenan Pili, definitely a guy that you want to watch this year. It's definitely going to be the leader. He's one of those guys that last year kind of got robbed from him. In that first game against Virginia, had that shoulder injury and had to sit. And that is not what that kid wanted to do when he transferred into Tennessee. I expect him to be probably not that active in fall camp, but he won't tell you that. I mean, he wants to be in every single play. And when season kicks off, even though it's against Chattanooga, I expect this guy to play very aggressive because he's going to want to make up his senior year, his senior year. I mean, it's like a double senior at this point. He's going to want to kick things off the right way and assert himself as a leader.
I mean, 100%. And, I was kind of listening to 99.1 this past week, and an interesting mark. Looking back on it, that injury to Keenan Pili was probably a blessing in disguise because do you think if Keenan Pili stays healthy all last year that he comes back for this season, or do you think he goes to the pros after last season?
No, I think he would have been a draft pick. Yeah. So no, I mean, but is that a blessing in disguise? We don't know. It's up to him to kind of make that for himself because, like I said, if he's a draft pick, if he plays out the year, I mean, that's a really hypothetical there. But for Tennessee's sake, he's definitely a veteran, experienced, talented piece that we wouldn't have this year if he didn't, get hurt, or possibly not have if he didn't get hurt. But, for Tennessee's sake, to help get these guys in, I mean, we're going to talk about them here. We got several sophomores, redshirt freshmen that are big time talent, but not a lot of experience, in which Keenan, I think, is going to be, like I said, kind of like a father figure to these kids and teaching them the ways of college and football.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I'm coming from, is the blessing for Tennessee, and then not just what you mentioned, but also the leadership aspect of it, because you mentioned all these young guys that Tennessee has got. You mentioned him being kind of like a father figure to these guys. Man, Skeeter, you love the orange.
Dude, I will not apologize for it either. I will not apologize. He once again, MIZ. I will not finish that, but we will show it just for a little bit.
GBO though, so there we go.
That's not how you spell that. That's crazy, bro. We appreciate you. For guys and people that don't know, Woods Water Mizzou is a partner of ours through the College Huddle. Recently went through something that I don't think anybody else would ever want to go through. And I'll let Michael kind of assert to that. But we appreciate you being here, brother. Thank you so much for showing support.
Yeah, Skeeter, he's a fantastic guy. He had an accident at work in which he lost 3 toes on his foot, but he's doing well now. He's also got a new baby, so congratulations to him on that.
You better not be teaching that baby MIZ, brother. Come on now. Come on.
We're going to send you a little Tennessee national championship jersey for baseball, as well as a football jersey, so there you go. But, getting back on topic here with the linebackers, I think it's a blessing in disguise for Tennessee because of his leadership aspect, because of all the young guys. And then, a guy that I feel like is next on the list, the other one that I have listed there is Arian Carter. Yeah. I think it was a blessing for him last year that Keenan Pili, and a blessing for Tennessee as well, that Keenan Pili got hurt. You never want a guy to get hurt. But as a true freshman, Arian Carter got so much experience getting to play as a true freshman. He had his mistakes, but, man, he was a big part of that linebacker group last year, along with Elijah Herring, who unfortunately did transfer to Memphis. But it was one of those things where Elijah Herring kind of saw the writing on the wall because of all the talent in that linebacker room, where as a starter last year, he or the first one off the bench, he was looking at probably third string this year. Yeah. So he just kind of saw that writing on the wall.
No, I mean, Elijah Herring, I'm glad you brought it up. I had it in my notes here. He transferred. Because, I mean, how do you talk about linebackers and the first 2 guys isn't Elijah Herring? Because Elijah Herring was that kid that stepped up when Keenan Pili went down, and I think he was the team leader in tackles. I mean, he definitely did his part. Don't get me wrong. But, yeah, like you said, he transferred out to Memphis. You talk about some guys that are stepping up. I'll tell you one guy that kind of stepped up was Jeremiah Thielander. Another one of those sophomores, came in the same class as Arian Carter. Kind of a guy that you didn't really talk about because Arian Carter stole the show as a freshman as far as during the spring and summer. That's all you talked about. And then here's Thielander that comes out of nowhere, obviously through attrition and whatnot, and really makes the most. I think he was 7th in tackles on the defense at 35 tackles. But those 2 guys definitely going to see an improved role at the linebacker position, guys that we're going to need. And I love this about those 2 guys. They're both sophomores. They're both going to get to play a lot together. And they got to play a lot together last year as well. And so I see this linebacker room really, really, 1, they've laid the foundation, but 2, they're really going to be able to build upon that foundation, not just this season, but also next, even with losing a key piece like Keenan Pili next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, Skeeter says he can only count to 17 now. So
stop.
Love it, man.
That's not funny, dude. I'm not laughing at that. I'm only laughing if you're laughing, brother. I'm sorry. That's not funny. That's not funny. Like, he sounds like a Bama person. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Ain't I supposed to have 5? No, I'm joking. Anyways, man, we got a lot of people in the chat, man. Thank y'all so much. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, however you're getting it, Spotify, if you listen later, guys, comment, let us know you're here. We're talking about linebackers. Who's a linebacker that you're ready to see? I'll tell you one that I'm kind of ready to see step up. It's a senior. It's Caleb Perry.
Yes.
Caleb Perry is a guy that I think is going to take a big leap. He's 6'3", 226 pounds from Georgetown, Kentucky. He's another one of those veteran pieces that you don't really think about. And I think his role is definitely going to be increased this year. And also, he's going to be a key factor in building up. So, we got a new viewer. It's Braxton Halbrooks. number 120. What's going on, brother? He's on the YouTube. He's watching. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you for tuning in. That's my cousin.
Yes, sir.
Big motocross guy, races dirt bikes. Love that kid, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. He's an Alabama fan watching a Tennessee show. Tell me, are we not doing something right? We got a Missouri guy in here. We got an Alabama person in here.
Hey, we might have an Ohio State guy in before the night's over with.
Whoa, let's not push our luck here. All right. No, man. But Caleb Perry is a guy, a senior, like I said, kind of like Keenan Pili, just maybe a little bit less talented, but I think his role is gonna definitely be increased here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just kind of going down the list of the linebackers on the roster, you got a freshman this year in Edwin Spillman from Lipscomb Academy. I mean, dude's 6'1", 234, a lot of hype around him. He might see a little bit of time, but I feel like you're going to see him more in a game like UT Chat. But he could definitely be one to step up into a role at times this year. Just going down the list a little bit more, you got redshirt sophomore Ben Bolton from Memphis. Jalen Smith, he's a redshirt freshman from Grayson, Georgia.
He's a big piece. I think he's a 4-star recruit.
Yeah, and then you got transfer Cody Duncan from Virginia Tech. I believe he has been with Tennessee for a year already.
He has.
But I think that there's a place for him as well. He actually is from Knoxville.
Yes.
Went to Knoxville Catholic up there. See, going down. Also got freshman Ryan Scott from West High School in Knoxville. Eli Purcell. He is a senior transfer from Wofford. He is also from Knoxville, though. Went to Farragut High School. Jordan Burns is a freshman linebacker from Pace Academy in Conyers, Georgia. And I believe that is it as far as the linebacker room goes. But, like I mentioned at the beginning, there is a lot of inexperience as far as freshmen, redshirt freshmen, and stuff like that. But I still posed the question, because of Tennessee running that, kind of 4-2-5 sort of thing now, like most teams are doing, because of the way the college game is going, is this the deepest yet most inexperienced room on the team?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't have in front of me all the rooms from previous years, but I think this team is a good blend. I think it's a great blend of experience and a great blend of new talent. Obviously, it's very deep. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we've got, even after Elijah Herring leaving, you still got a solid 4 or 5 deep that you feel comfortable with in any given situation, in my opinion. I think you could absolutely feel comfortable with Keenan Pili, Arian Carter, Jeremiah Thielander, Jalen Smith, even though he's a redshirt freshman, I still feel comfortable. And then Caleb Perry, and then you've got a freshman that's a consistent 4-star in Edwin Spillman that I think is going to turn heads just like Arian Carter did last year. So I feel really good about it. I think you've got guys in the room that maybe you won't see on the field every Saturday, but what they're doing in the locker room is going to be amazing. And as far as development for these new guys, I mean, like I said, you got guys like, I believe it's Ben Bolton, Cody Duncan, you're probably walk-ons, Eli Purcell even, that are probably not going to be playing in meaningful downs, but they're giving so much tips, pointers to how to eat the right way, be a teammate the right way, whatever you need done. Those guys are going to be teaching these younger kids that are coming in that probably do have the talent to be an everyday starter at some point. I mean, I just feel like the locker room is great. And don't get me wrong. I mean, those kids that are walk-ons, they don't put that to bed. I mean, they want to play just as bad as the next person does. And who knows, maybe they'll get their chance. I really like Eli, that senior from Wofford. I think he might actually see the field at some point this year, and I'll be rooting for him. I actually got the chance to intern that kid, and he's everything you want in a football player. And like I said, probably none of y'all probably know him, but it's just one of those things where when you get the chance to develop a relationship with a guy like that, it really puts a new perspective on how you think about him.
Yeah, absolutely. Skeeter, I think I'm gonna have to ban. I think I'm gonna have to ban you from the chat now.
I seen that question. I was just gonna skip over it and let him watch. He said, "What do you call Tennessee now that Texas is the official text of SEC. That's a funny question. I gave him a little bit of crap, so I guess maybe he's just returning the favor.
Yeah.
But whatever, dude. You know what? I'm not even gonna answer it.
Well,
But
the
Ryan
SEC,
Smith,
the SEC is already determined that Tennessee is the real UT.
they have. Due to seniority or whatever. I'm like, dude, what do you mean seniority? We were a whole university before Texas even joined the union, brother. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Ryan Smith joined, says got a couple of Knoxville Marines watching now. Yes, sir. Super fire. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for watching. I think he has definitely got us on the big screen. Send me a screenshot, man. We got the chat popping. Thank you so much. Yeah, he was trolling. Look at him. He said,
yeah.
But no, man. So we talked about him. Linebackers, people to expect. I would say, who's your projected 2 deep? Who's your projected starter, and then maybe the rotational pieces? Who you got?
So obviously the starters, in my opinion, are going to be Keenan Pili and Arion Carter. And
you are putting Arion Carter over Caleb Perry.
Yes, I am, and okay. I think it's Caleb Perry and then Jeremiah T-Lander as your 2 deep there.
I do think that's your 4 deep for sure. Your 2 deep, rotational pieces. But like I said, the defense they play aggressive. I would expect this to be a very big rotational piece of the defense. You're going to see a lot of guys, I think. Obviously, Keenan Pili is going to hold it down, but really excited to see what this group is. I do think it's pretty deep. I do think it's a little bit inexperienced, but in a way, I think it's a perfect blend. I really do. This is a really good linebacker group. Definitely flying under the radar, like we mentioned earlier, but expect some big things from this group this year. And like I said, built a great foundation. William Inge, this is his first year, ready to see kind of how aggressive he is. Tim Banks leading the defense, of course, but really, really excited to see the different looks that we're going to give on defense, the different pieces that we're going to have. I love to see packages. Obviously, kind of had like a cheetah package last year. You've seen Alabama do stuff like that. Would love to see us kind of see who we run out there for different type of scenarios. But really, really excited this year, but also because we've laid that foundation, ready to see how they grow for next year as well.
Yeah, we kind of brought it up. I believe it was 2 weeks ago when we talked about the defensive back room. I expect to see a full-on Tim Banks style defense this year where it's pressure and it is man-to-man on the outside, getting after folks because, there's no excuses now. This is Josh Heupel's 4th year. It's Tim Banks' 4th year with him at Tennessee. I don't have the right personnel now. You've got your guys.
Yeah.
So if they can't do what you want now, is it not on you? And we've already answered that. Yes, I believe it is 100% on Tim Banks and the staff. If at this point they don't feel like they can, or if they don't succeed doing what Tim Banks wants to do now.
Well, here's where I want to see massive improvement. This group has always been great at stopping the run. The defense in general has been solid. I'm talking really good at stopping the run. Tackles for loss. We're at the top of the SEC 2 years in a row almost with tackles for loss. I would love to see this group, especially linebackers, do a lot better of covering the middle of the field. I'm so tired of watching an 8-yard deep slant, whatever, and it just go right by our zone. However it does it, it's embarrassing. It's not something that I want to see this year. I think this group is going to definitely vastly improve in that area of defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of wrapping up the linebackers, but before we move into our schedule predictions, this is a great question from Skeeter here. It says, we're doing our SEC predictions tomorrow, and 2 of us have Tennessee at 6, the other at 7th. And he asks, fair with it not knowing what Nico will be.
Absolutely not. That is so disrespectful. I'll be honest with you. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It's probably fair.
No, each year I feel like when the media comes out with their SEC polls at the conclusion of media days, I feel like there is a lot of controversy over it. I think they got it right this year. I might have swapped a team, here and there, but I think overall they got it right. Not knowing what Nico's going to be this year, I would put Tennessee at, around 6 or 7 because I think Georgia's ahead of them. Texas is, Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri. I'm trying to who's the other one that they had ahead of?
Oklahoma's. Not ahead of them as far as media, but you had LSU.
LSU's the one I'm missing. So I would kind of put LSU. I would slip Missouri in there. Oklahoma, Tennessee,
really
kind of
look
in
at-
that same.
My thing
You
is
could put them
is-
anywhere.
My thing is we'll get into this later. This is kind of a topic for another day, but I do want to answer his question. You can't just think about how good a team's going to be. You really got to look at the schedule. I mean, you got to see if they got a good draw. I mean, LSU, we're going to talk about here just very shortly. You got to look at their draw. I mean, I think LSU's got a very workable schedule. I'm not saying it's a great one. I'm not saying it's a bad one. You got some teams. I mean, look at teams like Florida and Arkansas. I mean, they just, even if they were a decent team, you can't expect them to win more than 7 games because, I mean, they're playing the top talent. So you got to really look at, obviously, the talent on the team, but you also got to look at their schedule and see what they drew. So he even says with our schedule and returning talent, you know, he's got the Tigers better not finish 6th. That media put us. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Missouri has a great shot of like 9-3, 10-2 being the floor, which is pretty insane. I mean, but you got to think about it. Look at what Georgia had last year. So, like, every team is going to get their turn of an easy schedule. You just got to make sure you have your team built and the pieces laid so that you can capitalize on a season like that. So, Missouri better do that.
Yeah, and Skylar, kind of putting you on the spot here, but, you know, since Tennessee and Missouri do not play this season, would you want to see about having Skeeter on with us when we do our Missouri prediction, kind of talk a little bit of Missouri football?
I mean, we can. I mean, I wouldn't mind if we played him or not. We could have him on here. I mean, anytime Skeeter wants to, brother. I'm open to guests. I'm sure the viewers that are watching are open to guests. I mean, YouTube's kind of popping right now. Facebook's there. Spotify, I'm sure, will be popping during the week as soon as we get the upload up. But, yeah, I mean, let us know in the comments. Would y'all be down for a collab with Missouri podcaster, Woods, Water, and Mizzou, Skeeter? You know, I'm never going to forgive him for last year because that was embarrassing. But, you know, maybe we can work together and make amends.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we move on, do you have anything else on the linebacker group?
No, man, I think we touched on a little bit of everything. You know, Tim Banks, expecting a lot out of William Inge here. It's his first year. He's got something to prove. And I think these linebackers have something to prove. I mean, you've got basically Keenan Pili, who wants to make up for last year's lost season. You've got guys like Arian Carter, Jeremiah T-Lander, who kind of basically going to get their first year as a starter. Kind of want to see where they take it, and really excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited for Arian Carter. You know, we saw him last year, but in his second year, I'm excited to see the leaps that he makes. But
Dino says, yes, sir. He's ready to see the collab. He's all for it. So that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, any final touches on the linebackers before we move on to segment 2?
No, man, just, you know, we touched on it. A super underrated group on this Tennessee team.
Oh yeah,
that I'm very excited to see.